art as a job. So we'll go from these lettering projects, and I'm going to show you how I set up projects and kind of my thought process behind it. So art as a job. So field frolickers beware. If you're one of those people that just love to say how artistic you are, and while you skip around like with your dress in a field and all that stuff, that's not my type of people. I'm all about being artistic. I'm all about being a free spirit. I meditate. I'm into it. I get it. But there's structure involved. So what I like to do is, you know, I have all this structure on how I set up a project and how I get it scheduled and blah, 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 all that stuff. And then I open up the little area in between, and that's where I frolic in the field. But I only give myself a couple hours to frolic in the field. And I'm just as artistic as I want to be. I can crank up music or be in complete silence, whatever fits the project. And then at the end of that project, well, then I wrap it all up and I'm back to structure. I was talking recently about the way I work, and it's sort of like if you go into an auto plant and there's an assembly line going on, you know, they're working for the first couple hours, and then boom, there's a flash mob. Everybody's dancing, everybody's jumping on stuff and whatever, and then the flash mob ends and it's back to work. So the flash mob area represents when I give myself time to be artistic. But as soon as the flash mob's over, and you guys know how the flash mob ends, everybody's just right back to what they were doing. So that's how I get back to it. So when I'm done with that, well, then I got to mock these up, and I got to send them to the client, and then I got to write a nice email, all that stuff. So that's all of part of my workflow. So workflow is very, very, very important to me. If you don't know what workflow is, you don't really understand what that means, I'll just use workflow as a broad umbrella term for the way that I do every project. So I set up folders. I set up the same folders the same way. I schedule things the same way, and I work relatively the same way. But like I said, during the flash mob time, that's when I get to do it differently. But after the flash mob ends, back to the workflow, back to the way it is. So I keep this going, and basically 90% of the projects run through the machine the same way. So sometimes when I'll introduce I'll get a new client, there's sometimes, there's an introductory email. Let me tell you about who I am and how I'm going to do this stuff. So what I want them to know is treat me like a machine. I am a machine. I can do this stuff for you, whatever deadline you need. I am a machine. And I don't want them to think I need time to, just really get in the vibe. Because there's no time for that. Like, I appreciate the need. I appreciate the vibe if you get there, but there's no time for that in graphic design. Like I said, if you haven't realized it yet, graphic design is insane deadlines and insane expectations. It's nuts. And it's insane psychology about how people, what's going on in your client's head and what's going on, in the contact that's giving you the stuff from the client. It's like, well, that's what's going on in your head. What's going on in their head? Because I really need to know how everybody feels about themselves so that I can design accordingly. So, like I said, the deadlines are crazy. So speed is important. Like, if I would want to tell somebody about me, I would say, I care about your project, you can treat me like a machine, and I'm fast. Fast is important. So I think that that's one of the things that always, I hear about NBA players who, when they get into the league, everything goes so fast for them. And they're watching all this stuff happen faster than they've ever experienced it before. So one of the terms is that the game starts slowing down for them. So meaning they've now learned how to get all that stuff going, and it doesn't appear to be as hustle and bustle. So I am fast, but this is manageable for me. So it all makes sense now. So maybe if some people would watch the way I work, they'd be like, whoa, 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 what'd you do right there? How did you get that to happen that quick? Well, I've taught myself how to do this really quick so that I can manage all these projects. The reality about graphic design is a lot of these projects don't pay well. So the only way I figured out to make a good living is do a whole bunch of those little projects. I don't have any projects that are just like, are going to buy me a house or anything like that. I have projects that may buy me a pair of shoes, but I just need to keep on doing those projects so that I can have a whole bunch of shoes.